The great hall of Prime was filled with warriors. They stood tall and proud, their blue skin shining under the crystal lights. Their eyes glowed soft gold, and their muscles were carved like stone. They were known across the galaxy as the strongest species. They could lift ships with their bare hands. They could crush metal like paper. Their minds could reach out and move objects without touching them. Tonight was the Night of Blades, a ceremony held every 10 years to honor the greatest warriors of the Empire. Nobles from every corner of space had gathered. They wore armor made of black metal. They carried ancient swords at their hips. They laughed and drank and told stories of battle. Princess of House walked through the crowd. She was beautiful in the way a storm is beautiful. Her silver hair fell to her waist. Her golden eyes were sharp and cold. She wore the red armor of her house, and a curved blade hung at her side. She had killed more enemies than most warriors twice her age. She was feared. She was respected. But tonight, people were not looking at her. They were looking at the man walking beside her. He was human. His name was, he was not tall, he was not muscular. His skin was plain brown, not the proud blue of the. His eyes were simple and dark. He wore simple black clothes with no armor. He carried no weapon. He walked quietly, his hands folded behind his back, like a man taking a peaceful evening walk. The whisper started immediately. Is that him, the human? I heard she actually married the creature. How shameful, house used to mean something. He looks like he would break if you touched him. Heard every word. His face showed nothing. He simply walked beside his wife, matching her pace, his expression calm and pleasant. Heard the whispers too. Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. She had learned long ago that words were useless against stupidity. They reached the high table where the noble houses sat. His younger brother was already there. He was young and handsome, with the proud bearing of a born warrior. When he saw, his face twisted with barely hidden shame. Sister, he said, standing to greet her. He did not greet. Sat down, sat beside her, looked away. The ceremony began. The emperor himself, ancient and powerful, gave a speech about honor and strength. Warriors were called forward to receive medals. The crowd cheered for each one. Then Commander walked to the center of the hall. Was everything as should be? He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall. His armor was covered in gold marks, each one representing an enemy killed. His face was handsome and cruel. He had once asked for his hand in marriage. She had refused. He had never forgotten. He received his medal for defending a border outpost against raiders. The crowd roared with approval, smiled, and raised his fist in victory. Then his eyes found his table. His smile grew wider, but it was not a kind smile. He walked toward them. The crowd grew quiet, sensing entertainment. Princess, said, his voice carrying across the hall, it is good to see House represented tonight, though I must say I am surprised you brought your pet. Some nobles laughed. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. His hand moved toward her blade. Choose your next words carefully, Commander. I mean no offense, said, raising his hands in mock surrender. I am simply curious. Tell me, human, what is it like to be the weakest creature in this room? Do you feel afraid, surrounded by so many who could kill you without effort? Every eye in the hall turned too. He looked up at. His expression was still calm, almost friendly. He seemed to think about the question seriously. The food is very good, said. I especially like the purple fish. Silence. Then laughter, but it was laughter at, not with him. Shook his head. A coward without even the wit to defend himself. Tell me, princess, does he at least keep your bed warm? Surely that is his only purpose. Stood, her blade was half out of its sheath. The air around her seemed to vibrate with her anger. Her psionic energy made the cups on the table shake. Reached out and gently touched her arm. The fish really is very good, he said softly. Sit, please. For a long moment, no one moved. Then slowly sat back down. She did not sheath her blade, but she did not draw it further. laughed and walked away, satisfied with his victory. Later that night, in their private chambers, came to see his sister, was in the garden outside looking at the stars. "You must see how this looks," said. "The nobles mock us openly now. House's reputation is being destroyed. Please, sister, I beg you, at least keep him hidden during these events. Let him stay in the estate." Looked at her brother with cold eyes. "No." Why do you protect him so fiercely? What has he ever done to earn such loyalty?" Was quiet for a long moment. Through the window, she watched standing alone in the garden, his face turned upward toward the distant stars. "You would not understand," she said. Before could respond, a servant rushed into the room. His face was pale with fear. "My lady, my lord, a message from the outer territories. A fleet has been spotted, over 300 warships. They are heading directly for our space." Face hardened. "How long?" "Days, my lord, perhaps hours." In the garden, continued to look at the stars. Somewhere out there, among those points of light, war was coming. He had known war before. He did not fear it. The war room of House was filled with generals and admirals. Maps of space floated in the air, showing the movement of the fleet. Red dots moved slowly toward blue dots. Each red dot was a warship filled with monsters that lived only to kill. There were creatures 8 feet tall with hard shells and blade-like arms. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They ate their enemies alive. For centuries, the Empire had fought them along the border. Now, they had gathered the largest fleet anyone had ever seen. General, the oldest warrior in the room, pointed at the map. "They will reach the outer colonies in 3 days. We have ordered evacuations, but there is not enough time. Millions will die." "Then we fight," said Admiral Sara, a woman with scars across her face. "We meet them at the border and destroy them." "With what?" General asked. "They outnumber us 3 to 1. Our fleet is scattered. It will take weeks to gather our full strength." The room fell into argument. Voices rose and fell. Plans were suggested and rejected. Through it all, stood silent, studying the map with intense focus. Stood in the corner of the room. No one looked at him. No one asked his opinion. He was invisible, a ghost that everyone pretended not to see. He watched the map carefully. His eyes moved slowly across the patterns of ships and planets. His fingers tapped gently against his leg, as if counting something. After an hour, General noticed him. The old warrior's face twisted with annoyance. "Why is the human here? This is a war council, not a dinner party." Spoke without looking away from the map. "He is my husband, he stays. He has no place here. He knows nothing of war." Smiled slightly. "General, if I may offer a thought." "You may not," interrupted. "Return to your gardens human. Leave war to those who understand it." Bowed his head politely and said nothing more. The meeting continued for hours. By the end, they had decided to send a small fleet to delay the while the main force gathered. It was not a good plan. Everyone knew it, but it was the only plan they had. That night found in the kitchen. He was cooking something in a pan, filling the room with warm smells. She sat at the small table and watched him. "You do not have to stay silent," she said. "You could speak. You could show them." Added vegetables to the pan. "Show them what?" "What you are, what you can do." He was quiet for a moment. "And then what? They would fear me or hate me or try to use me." He placed a plate of food in front of her. "I prefer this, cooking for you, tending the garden, being your husband." Looked at the food. It was a simple dish from Earth, rice and vegetables and meat. She had grown to love these meals more than the finest feasts. "The will reach colony first," she said. "He commands the defense there." Sat across from her. "I know. I am going. I will lead a rescue mission myself." "I know." Looked at him. "You will stay here. It will be dangerous." Picked up his own fork and began to eat. "No. I will come with you." Her golden eyes narrowed. The generals will not allow it. They will say you will slow us down. They will say you are a burden. Let them say it. You could die. Chewed slowly and swallowed. I could die here too. A ship could fall from the sky. I could choke on a fish bone. Death is always possible. He looked at her with his calm, dark eyes. You are going into danger. I will be beside you. That is not a request. Stared at him for a long moment. She remembered the first time they met 3 years ago on a burning battlefield far from here. She had been wounded, bleeding, unable to move. A death squad had surrounded her. She had been ready to die. Then a human had appeared, a small, fragile human with a broken rifle and no armor. He had stood between her and the monsters. He had refused to move. She still did not understand why he had done it. She had asked him many times. He always just smiled and changed the subject. Very well, she said finally, you may come. Nodded and returned to his meal. Thank you. I would have come anyway, but it is nice to have permission. Almost smiled, almost. The next morning the rescue fleet launched. 12 warships carrying the finest warriors, commanded from the lead ship. Commander had insisted on joining, eager to prove himself in battle. Sat in a small room near the cargo bay. No one spoke to him. No one looked at him. He spent the journey reading a book from Earth, a story about a man who grew flowers in a quiet village. When they dropped out of hyperspace near his colony, the first thing they saw was smoke. The planet was burning. Ships filled the sky like angry insects. And the transmission from the surface had gone silent 2 hours ago. Gripped the railing of the command deck. Her brother was down there. Her people were dying. In his small room, closed his book. He stood slowly and stretched like a man waking from a long sleep. It had been years since he had fought. He had not missed it. But some things could not be avoided. The fell through fire and smoke. Inside, warriors checked their weapons and armor. Their faces were hard and ready. They had trained their whole lives for this. Stood at the front of the lead. Her sword was in her hand, already glowing with psionic energy. Through the small window she could see the colony below. Buildings were burning. Bodies lay in the streets. They had already done terrible damage. Sat in the back near the door. He had been given light armor, the smallest size they could find. It still did not fit properly. He carried no weapon. A young soldier sat near him, looking at him with open disgust. Stay behind us, human, the soldier said. Try not to get in the way. Nodded politely, of course. They landed hard. The door opened. They charged out with battle cries, their blades blazing with light. They were waiting. They were horrible to see. 8 feet tall, covered in black shells like giant insects. Their arms ended in blades sharper than any metal. Their mouths were filled with teeth made for tearing flesh. They moved fast, faster than creatures their size should move. The battle began immediately. Blades met shells. Blood of both colors sprayed into the air. The sounds of screaming and roaring filled the colony streets. Moved quickly to a damaged building where civilians were hiding. Men, women, children, all terrified. He began leading them toward the evacuation point, staying in the shadows, avoiding the main fighting. This way, he said calmly. Stay low, stay quiet. Do not run unless I tell you. The civilians followed him. They did not know who he was. They did not care. He was helping them, and that was enough. Across the colony, the battle was not going well. Commander had been given command of the eastern flank. He was eager to prove himself, to show that he was the greatest warrior in the empire. He pushed forward too fast, ignoring warnings from his officers. Forward, he shouted. Kill them all, show no fear. His soldiers followed because they had to. They trusted their commander. They believed in strength. They walked into a trap. They had hidden warriors in the buildings on both sides. They attacked from every direction at once. His unit was surrounded in seconds. On the other side of the colony heard the distress call. His own unit was pinned down, taking heavy fire, but soldiers were dying. He had to help. "With me," he shouted to his warriors, "we break through to Commander." They fought through the streets, cutting down every in their path. Was young, but he was skilled. His blade danced through the air, leaving trails of light and blood. But there were too many. For every one they killed, two more appeared. Slowly, surely, unit was pushed back. Then they were surrounded too. Now 2 units were trapped. Nearly 100 warriors, the finest the Empire had to offer, were facing death. Heard the reports from the command post. Her face went pale. Her brother was trapped. If she went to help them, she would leave the evacuation unprotected. If she stayed, they would die. She turned to go anyway. She would not let her brother die. Then she saw the war captain approaching. It was massive, twice the size of a normal. Its shell was covered in scars from 1,000 battles. Its eyes burned with ancient hatred. It had come for her specifically. It wanted to kill the princess. Raised her blade, she had no choice. She had to fight. Their battle was like a storm given form. Sword blazed with white fire. The war captain's blades moved faster than sight. They clashed again and again, shaking the ground with each impact. For the first time in years was struggling. The war captain was stronger than her, faster than her. She was being pushed back step by step. In the command tent, watched the tactical display. He had finished evacuating the civilians he found and had returned to help coordinate. The officers ignored him, too busy with their own problems. He looked at the display showing the 2 trapped units. He looked at the positions of the forces. He looked at the pattern of their movements. And he saw it. A weakness, a single point where the line was thin, a communication hub that connected all their units. If it was destroyed, their coordination would collapse. Their trap would fall apart. No one else was looking. No one else had time. Walked to a table where a fallen noble's belongings had been placed. Among them was an old ceremonial sword, an antique carried as a symbol of honor. Its power cell had been dead for centuries. It was nothing but a piece of metal. He picked it up. It felt familiar in his hand. A young soldier ran toward him. "Human, what are you doing? You cannot go out there. You will die." Looked at the young warrior with calm eyes. "Maybe," he said. Then he walked toward the door, toward the battle, toward the hundreds of between him and the hub. The blade in his hand felt cold. For now, walked into the street. The sounds of battle were everywhere, screaming, roaring, metal striking shell. Somewhere to his left, a building collapsed in flames. Somewhere to his right, warriors were making their last stand. Ahead of him, a line of warriors turned. They saw a small human walking toward them, alone, carrying an old sword that did not glow, wearing armor that did not fit. They laughed. It was an ugly sound, like stones grinding together. One of them stepped forward. It was 3 times his size. Its blade arms could cut through steel. Kept walking. He thought about his wife, about her smile, which was rare and precious, about the way she laughed at his jokes, even the bad ones, about how she held his hand when they watched the stars together. He thought about the home they had built, the garden he had planted, the meals they had shared. He thought about all the things worth protecting. And the sword in his hand began to glow. Faint at first, a soft flicker like a candle in wind, then brighter and brighter, until white fire wrapped around the ancient blade like a living thing. The warrior stopped laughing. Across the battlefield, stopped fighting. They stared at the human and his burning sword. Their mouths fell open. Their eyes went wide with shock. Ceremonial blades were psionic weapons. They responded only to the mind of their wielder. They required years of training. They required a connection passed down through bloodlines over thousands of years. No outsider had ever ignited one. No outsider could ignite one. But the blade in his hand burned brighter than any sword on the battlefield. The warrior attacked. It moved fast, faster than any human should be able to see. Moved faster. He slid under the blade arm and cut once. The fell in 2 pieces. Then he was moving, running toward the enemy line, running toward the communication hub he had seen on the display. They came at him from every direction, 10 of them, 20, 50. Did not slow down. His fighting style was nothing they had ever seen. There were no beautiful forms, no dramatic poses, no wasted movements. Every step had purpose. Every cut was aimed at the exact spot where they were weakest. It was a style born on Earth, in humanity's endless wars against itself. 1,000 years of combat, refined and perfected and passed down in secret. The movements of a species that had spent its entire history learning how to kill. Cut through the line like a blade through paper. Black blood sprayed into the air. Bodies fell behind him. He did not stop. He did not slow. In the circle where unit was trapped, the young prince watched through the gaps in the surrounding him. He saw the human moving through the battlefield. He saw his brother-in-law, the man he had mocked and ignored for 3 years, cutting down monsters like they were made of grass. Impossible, he whispered. Commander saw it too. From his own desperate position, he watched reach the communication hub. He watched the human destroy it with a single burning strike. The effect was immediate. The formations fell apart. Without their hub, they could not coordinate. They could not adapt. They began to fight as individuals instead of an army. And the, trained from birth for exactly this kind of chaos, began to push back. His troops, forward, now break through. They fought with renewed strength. The confused and scattered began to fall back. Kept moving. He cut a path directly towards trapped unit. They tried to stop him. They failed. One by one, they fell before the burning blade. He reached just as the commander was about to be overwhelmed. 3 had surrounded him. His own sword was flickering, his psionic energy nearly exhausted. Killed all 3 in less than a second. Stared at him, his face showed something he had never felt before, fear and shame. Come, said calmly, we should return to the others. He turned and walked back toward the lines, followed. He had no words, none at all. When they reached safety was there. She had finally defeated the war captain, though her armor was cracked and blood ran down her face. She saw her husband walking toward her, the ancient sword still burning in his hand, his expression unchanged. He looked the same as always, calm, quiet, peaceful. As if he had just finished working in the garden. Behind him lay a trail of dead, dozens of them, maybe 100. No one had counted, no one could believe it. Stopped in front of his wife, he looked at the blood on her face. Are you hurt? Stared at him. Then she laughed. It was a strange sound, filled with relief and exhaustion and something that might have been love. I am fine, she said. Nodded, he looked down at the sword in his hand. The glow was fading now, the white fire dying down to embers. Good, he said. I think I would like to rest now. He sat down on a broken wall, set the sword beside him, and closed his eyes. Around him, an army of warriors stood in silence, looking at the human who had saved them all. The battle was over. The fleet retreated when word spread that their ground forces had been destroyed. The colony was saved. Thousands of lives had been protected. But the warriors were not talking about the victory. They were talking about the human. Stories spread faster than fire. The human who had ignited an ancient blade. The human who had killed 100 alone. The human who had walked through an army like it was nothing. Some said he was a secret weapon. Some said he was a demon wearing human skin. Some said it was a trick, an illusion, something that could not possibly be real. Only knew the truth. 3 days after the battle, a ceremony was held on Prime. The Emperor himself had come to honor the heroes who saved the colony. The great hall was filled once again with nobles and warriors. But this time, No one whispered about the human standing beside Princess. This time, they looked at him with different eyes. The Emperor called forward the warriors who had shown great courage. Medals were given, speeches were made, the crowd cheered. Then the Emperor turned to. "Human," the ancient ruler said, "you have done something that our scholars say is impossible. You have ignited a blade you have fought like no outsider has ever fought. Tell us, what are you?" The hall fell silent, every eye turned to. He stood quietly for a moment, then he looked at, she nodded slightly. Turned back to the Emperor. "I am what humans call a remnant," he said. 200 years ago, my species nearly destroyed itself. We fought a war so terrible that it killed billions. When it ended, we swore never to let such destruction happen again. We destroyed our weapons. We buried our secrets. We tried to become peaceful. He paused. His voice remained calm and soft. But some of us remembered the old ways. We carried them inside us, hidden, waiting. We scattered across the galaxy, living quiet lives, hoping we would never need to fight again. He looked down at his hands. "I was a soldier once. I saw things I wish I could forget. I did things that haunt my dreams. When the war ended, I wanted only to find peace." "Then why?" the Emperor asked. "Why reveal yourself now?" Looked at again. A small smile touched his face. "Because my wife was in danger. Because innocent people were dying. Because some things are worth breaking a promise for." The hall was completely silent. Then spoke. Her voice carried across the room like a bell. "Your blades do not respond to bloodlines," she said. "Our scholars were wrong. They respond to will, to the pure determination to protect what you love. My husband's will is stronger than anyone I have ever known." The Emperor studied for a long moment. Then slowly, the ancient ruler bowed his head. "House is honored to have such a warrior," he said. "Humanity is more than we believed." The crowd did not know what to do. They had spent their lives believing humans were weak. Now they were being told that weakness had been a choice. That the quiet human who tended gardens and cooked meals had been, all along, something terrifying. Commander was in the crowd. His face was pale. He could not meet's eyes. After the ceremony, when the crowds had gone, found in the garden of House, the human was kneeling in the dirt, planting seeds as if nothing had changed. Watched him for a long moment. Then he walked forward and bowed deeply. "Brother," he said. It was the first time he had ever used that word. "I owe you my life. I owe you an apology for 3 years of cruelty. I do not deserve your forgiveness, but I ask for it anyway." Looked up, his hands were covered in dirt. His expression was the same as always, calm, kind, patient. "There is nothing to forgive," he said. "You were protecting your sister. You did not trust a stranger. That is not cruelty. That is love." Did not know what to say. He stood in silence, watching his brother-in-law return to his planting. "May I ask something?" said finally. "Of course." "Why did you never say anything? Why did you let us mock you, let us treat you like nothing?" Pushed soil over a seed and pressed it down gently. "Your sister does not love me because I am strong," he said. "She loves me because I make her laugh, because I cook her breakfast, because I hold her when she is afraid and no one else can see." He shrugged. "Why would I ruin that by showing off?" Thought about this for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. "I understand," he said. "At least I think I am beginning to." He left to his garden. That evening came home to find dinner waiting for her. The same simple dish from Earth that she had grown to love. Rice and vegetables and meat, cooked with care. Was already eating when she sat down. "The nobles are saying you are the most dangerous being in the galaxy," she said. Chewed thoughtfully. "The fish yesterday was better." Almost smiled, almost. "Are you going to start training again? The generals want to study your techniques. The warriors want to learn from you." Considered this. "Maybe, sometimes, but not too much." He looked at her with his calm, dark eyes. I have a garden to tend, a wife to cook for, a life to live. He reached across the table and took her hand. That is what I fought for. I would like to enjoy it. Squeezed his hand. She did not say anything. She did not need to. Outside, stars filled the sky. Somewhere out there, other threats waited. Other wars would come. The galaxy was vast and full of danger. But in a small house on Prime, a human and his alien wife ate dinner together, enjoying the quiet peace that they had earned. And that was enough. That was everything.